What is the situation at the moment?
I mean, pretty much as you described. I mean, since on Tuesday, Alaa, who, as you said, he was on a hunger strike, taking only 100 calories a day. He's ramped up now to 0 calories in the week before COP begins, and then when COP begins on Sunday, he will cease taking water, and that means almost certain death. It's what I really consider to be a slow assassination. So it's a terrifying situation, and I always think it's really important when you're talking about Alaa to really put him in context.
Yes,
he is, someone who I consider towards progressive movement, the progressive movement of what is happening in Egypt and on the Arab region, kind of equivalent to what James Baldwin was as a writer to the civil rights movement, or what the Pankhursts as a family, his family really are equivalent to the Pankhursts and what they mean to the fight for the vote for women. So we have this situation really where we're about to potentially lose a figure of that dimension. And of course, he is a British citizen. And we have Rishi Sunak in his first major international diplomatic event heading there. And if he goes there and doesn't come back with him or doesn't show the extent to which he is important to the British state, it's essentially sending a signal that you might as well kill him.
How well do you think the British government, how prominent do you think this particular campaign is in the minds of British officials? Because a lot of people.
Well, there's a lot of lip
service,
and there's a lot of lip service and a lot of words that have been spoken over the last 200 days that he's been, or more than 200 days that he's been on a hunger strike. However, in that same time, there have been multi-billion-pound deals that have been done between Britain and Egypt. Britain is one of Egypt's largest trading partners. So there should be the ability to have clear leverage. And it's also, just to add, it's not just a matter of the British state. I mean, the campaign for Ala's release also has support, bipartisan support in the US. It has support from members of the EU Parliament across the board and in Germany. However, there is this kind of balance that is happening clearly in which, essentially human rights are being thrown, under the bus for other priorities. And this is the great fear, I think, in general, in relation to climate issues and COP. Is our approach to climate in general one which we pay lip service? We all, lots of pledges are made, but the clarity of action is very small. And just to add here, in terms of the importance of Alaa, because I think this also puts it in context. This is being billed as the Africa COP, and it's the fifth time that COP has taken place in Africa. So it's not the Africa COP, but it's another COP taking place in Africa. But it's also taking place in the Middle East, the fossil fuel region of the world. And so this kind of interconnected nature of how important it is that you have human rights, that you have freedom of speech, that you have the ability to speak truth to power is very important and kind of symbolized in the icon of Alaa. So again, Rishi Sunak, if he is to be serious and show the kind of, to show what I actually believe deep down the Britain I care about really is, then he should be going there and coming back with him.
I'm just reading Alaa's letter that was published a few days ago, and he talks about the possibility of death, talking about extinction, the abyss.
Yeah.
And he says, today is the last day that I will take a hot drink, or rather, since I'll count the days from when the lights come on at 10 a.m. tomorrow, Tuesday, just before the lights come on, I will drink my last cup of tea in prison. Given the increasing profile of Alaa, particularly outside Egypt, do you think the authorities and the regime of Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the president, they will allow this to happen?
They'll allow him to be released, you mean?
No, allow him to die.
Well, I mean, it's very possible. I mean, that seems to be unfortunately the greater likelihood, unless there is significant pressure the pressure of the kind that we're seeing now on them to release him. And there is precedent for this kind of thing happening. There have been various different prisoner releases in the US, Germany, like multiple countries. So, I mean, I strongly hope so. But it's a terrifying idea that we might lose him.
Yeah, I mean, there are Nobel Prizes. This is a huge thing. There are people who carry the conscience of the world with them through their work, through their art, their literature, their campaigning. You're well known as an actor. The people will know you from The Crown playing Dodi Fayed. You don't have to engage in this kind of campaigning, yet you do. Why?
My grandfather and father were both political prisoners. This runs deep in me and in my family. I was also very engaged from 2011 onwards in political events in Egypt. I lived there from 2008 to 16. This matters to me. You know, I also believe that we're in a world in crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone has to do whatever they can. And then there is the simple fact that Alaa is a friend. His family are close to me. So, you know, that's worth me being here at, you know, whatever it is, 11:20 something in the, you know, at night when I've been up at 4 o'clock in the morning in order to be filming. To be here to continue fighting. And I think deep down, it's not just, you know, I don't say this is something that makes me heroic. This is something that I think all of us have inside us. We're seeing a world around us fall apart. We are facing climate catastrophe. So it's important that we all do whatever we can.
Okay.
And that is absolutely fundamentally what Alaa represents.
Okay.
That's why he inspires me. He is, as Naomi Klein put it recently exactly, he is organizing us from his cell. I mean, how deeply inspiring. And it's an act of sovereignty over his body. It's an act of freedom that he is engaging in. It is not a will to die, it's a will to live, and to show us all how to live, and to show us how deeply it is worth continuing to fight, even in the darkest of circumstances. And if he's doing that, then what are we doing?